Happy to talk this morning with John Pudner. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus and Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. John's got his bona fides. He certainly does. The president of Take Back Action Fund. He was an advisor to Mitt Romney and to George W. Bush. We want to talk a little bit about what's going on with this Mar-a-Lago raid. But first, John, you're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but you actually have a bit of a history here in Indiana County, huh?
Did some real fun work with Giant Eagle for years, and that was one of the stores I was out at a bit. So I have been there.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, you know that what we're all about then. Hey, I want to talk about this Mar-a-Lago thing and the ruling yesterday by the judge in the Mar-a-Lago case with the Justice Department, and ask you, John, because people have this serious question. We hear so much about it. It's on the news all the time, and people get fatigued by it. Do people care, and should they?
I think they should. You know, a lot of the left's argument has been that President Trump is a threat to democracy, and I certainly, at the very least, think the optics of raiding a potential political adversary for next time, past political foe. I think if anything was going to call question into people's faith in democracy, that would be it. I mean, this was the kind of language that was being hurled at Trump, him being accused in 2016 of, that he would be someone who would punish political enemies. So the optics, at least, are very bad for them on this.
To get the Department of Justice to release the affidavit has been not just a goal of the right or the left, but both. It's interesting to see who all is involved in trying to get this loosened up.
Yeah, I think that's the most amazing line when you realize the actual court case that's getting this released in some redacted form. But remember, that was filed by CNN, the Washington Post, and the New York Times. Hardly common bedfellows to President Trump's push. But this is, I think that's part of the reason they're stuck. Maybe if they could say it was some conservative outlet asking for this, they could brush them off. But I think they're in a bind.
What is at the heart of the Department of Justice's argument that it should not be released?
Well, obviously, prosecutors hate to ever release anything, so I think that's the real motivation. Their claim is that might expose witnesses who wouldn't be able to talk. So I guess if you thought you'd make your mark by kind of turning on Trump, and you're kind of nervous right now about talk about could an unredacted be out? Could names be out? Now, if you thought you'd get a book deal by turning on Trump, maybe that's fine. You don't mind the publicity. But, I think the underlying, this is not like an investigation of some shadowy figure no one had ever heard of. There's no information on, and you had to keep things secret. I mean, this is, lots of hostile prosecutors have lots of information they've gotten in the Trump organization. So I don't think the cover-up's worthwhile for DOJ.
There is some feeling out there that Judge Reinhart feels like he got sort of kicked in the pants by the Department of Justice with this, and so that's why he made his ruling yesterday that he gave him a week to redact what needs to be redacted. He'll take a look at it then and decide whether the affidavit can be released. Did the judge get bamboozled a little bit?
Well, I think he could have. Some conservatives suspicious of him because he was DOJ at one point, but no, I think so. And interestingly, it doesn't sound like he's going to look at it and decide if it can be released. It sounds like he's going to look at it and decide if he needs to start over and decide what needs to be redacted before it's released. So that's really bad news for DOJ. It's almost like arbitration in baseball where you've got to make a respectable offer where the arbitrator is going to take the other offer. If they come up with something that looks like a cartoon that's, 90% blacked out, sounds like he's just going to then go start from the beginning, redact what he wants, and release it. So I think they're nervous, and they're going to have to make enough of it public to at least make the case that they, in good faith, were giving him a legitimate redacted document.
Department of Justice and Mr. Trump have been at it with each other basically since Trump was elected in 2016. And even when when Mr. Trump was the president of the United States, of course, he had his battles with his own DOJ. What are the implications for us long term, away from this particular case, when we deal with transparency of our law enforcement agencies, and here it is, the top law enforcement agency in all of the United States, there have to be some things that we have to be wary about now, don't they?
Well, we do, and even the most recent polling, 50% trust the FBI, and gosh, I mean that's more than trust a lot of things, but that's awfully low. Much lower than it's been historically, and so I think that's a real concern if people don't think that kind of the ultimate law enforcement in the country is just, even while they support their local police officers, et cetera. So it's a threat.
Should the Justice Department make public the affidavit, as it appears that it will have to? What do you suspect that we will learn from what it's going to tell us?
Well, I think it'll be more light into whether or not this looks purely political, because then people can investigate things in it. And if it's redacted and there are a few names blocked out, people may take that as legitimate. Okay, you have to protect a couple of names, but I think Trump's going to win either way at this point. He's either going to be able to hold up a cartoon-like figure piece of paper almost all blacked out, or they're going to have real information calling into question political motivation behind this. And I think he can keep coming back and saying, hey, in June you were over at the House and I said take whatever you want. Why did you break back in? And I think whoever at DOJ thought, and I said that if Trump was out of town, they wouldn't get news coverage on this raid. Clearly just hasn't watched news in 6 years. I mean, that was a crazy presumption on their part.
Is there any legitimacy to the idea that the affidavit would reveal who the source was who told DOJ that Mr. Trump had certain documents there, and that those documents might not have been there in the first place?
Well, it is, but I'm sure that's the first thing they'd redact is the name and then anything that explicitly pointed to that person. So, again, if it looks like a redaction just to protect a couple of people, that might pass muster with some. But that's up to them. They've got the ability to try to do a reasonable redaction, and if so, see if people buy it and protect their source at the same time.
John Pudner is with the Take Back Action Fund. He's the president of the organization. I'm assuming that this will have a very much effect on the election coming up here in November of this year, but then even longer than that in the 24 election.
That's right. It certainly helps him in primaries. I mean, if nothing else, I don't know how it'll fall out long-term among independent voters and others, but as far as Republicans feeling once again like he's being attacked, that can only help him politically, if he is, to announce late in the year, as people seem to believe now. So, the one thing you can't question is this helps him in primaries. Whether or not it helps in the overall general election in 2024, that's an open-ended question, but definitely primaries.
Tell me about Take Back Action Fund. What's it all about?
Well, we've people who've run conservative campaigns for years, but we also would like to see some election laws changed. I mean, we'd like to look at a system called Final Five. We actually like the system in Alaska they're trying. I know the president's been kind of critical, but in a system like that, you have two Republicans. It really are the two finalists. One of them is going to win. So I think that would lower the temperature a little if you went through that process instead of through just the pure partisan primaries, which are kind of rewarding anger now. It's not really that it's rewarding, we want people real conservative, but so we think election reform systems, and that's what we outline in Take Back Action, and would love people to check us out.
Well, that system in Alaska is kind of confusing. It's something that's brand new to most people. What is the big highlight of it? What's the mechanics of it?
Yeah, the big thing is everyone goes into an open primary first, and that's where some people held up. I argue that's actually good because 4 or 5, and in their case 4, advance, and then of those 4, you rank them. Now, New York ranked choice system I thought was a disaster because you had 13 people on the ballot. But a system like that, mainly it's libertarians, pro-life candidates, Constitutional Party candidates taking votes from Republicans. I mean, that's what happened in Wisconsin. That's why Trump lost the state I'm in, Wisconsin. And this system makes those people do a second choice, and it's almost always going to be the conservative over the liberal. So I think it's a really good system, but anytime there's change, of course, there's some confusion, but I think this will really play out well long term.
It sounds like it's going to be something to really watch. Sarah Palin, she finished second in hers, right?
Yes, that's right. And yes, that's right. And then what you have in the November election, of course, the U.S. Senate one's the really big focus, is the Republican Party now is putting out Rank the Red, saying, hey, pick either Republican you want, put them in order. And that lets everyone say, hey, I either want Trump's choice, Kelly, whose last name I'm going to slay, so I'm not going to try, or Murkowski, who obviously is very anti-Trump within the party. Mm-hmm. But the point is, a Republican will be elected in that race. It's just people can pick one of them first, one of them second, and then see who wins. So I think it's a good system, but we'll see how it plays out in November.
Take Back Action Fund, if people are interested in that. That I'm assuming that it's takebackactionfund.org or com. What's the website?
Yeah, it's org, and if you just leave out the fund, so it's just takebackaction.org is the actual website.
Beautiful. John, thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Oh, thanks so much.
Have a great day today.
You too. Bye.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS.